and welcome to Desi in Design.
Whoa.
If you're new here, I'm your host, Sravya Attaluri. I'm a creative director and illustrator based in London. And on this podcast, I chat with other South Asian creatives about their career journeys, challenges, and triumphs. Today, I'm joined by Kumari Nahappan, a Malaysian-born, Singaporean-based contemporary artist whose work spans sculpture, installation, and painting. Over the past 3 decades, Kumari has become one of Southeast Asia's most influential artists. She's known for transforming everyday natural forms into monumental public artworks that have redefined Singapore's cityscape and inspired a generation of artists across the region. In this episode, we dive into how she built and sustained a creative career over 30 years, the mindset that's helped her evolve with time, and the lessons she's learned from balancing intuition with discipline. Kumari also shares her process for creating large-scale public sculptures, the collaboration and engineering that make them possible, and how she continues to find inspiration in nature, ritual, and daily practice. This episode was filmed in Singapore at Studio 5, our studio partner and co-producer for this special episode and trailer. Hi Kumari, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you and have a conversation.
Thank you for inviting me to actually share my experiences and so on with you.
I would love to start off with some quick rapid fire round questions just to warm up. First one, would you rather work early in the morning or late at night?
I can assure you I'm a night person.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I work best at night because I think the work that I do demands silence. And I can only achieve that at night when everything has come down.
So do you spend like late nights at the studio then?
Yes, I do. Usually especially when I do paintings, I used to work until about 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And then I feel really good about actually finishing something the way that I want. And what I would do is maybe sit down and have a cup of tea and feel really like, it's a sense of satisfaction that you manage to get what you want from the work that you're actually building.
Yeah, when the world is quiet.
Yes, and everyone's asleep, so you are up and running.
Yeah, it's a special time.
Yes.
Dream studio, beachside, in the mountains, or right in the heart of the city?
I think I love the mountains because in the mountains you have so many angles to view, and it's like every turn there's something that will draw your attention. And that's very exciting.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of a dream studio.
Is there any specific mountains, like in a specific location, that you would love to work at?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
But it's just that if you gave me a choice, I'm happy to be anywhere that's on a higher space where I can actually have unblocked views.
If you could collaborate with any museum or cultural institution in the world, which one would it be?
I think I'll go for the natural history because there's so much to do with nature, and it picks up the flora and fauna of things around and time, and I think I have a very deep interest in that area, so probably the History Museum.
Yeah. I could see that. What's one material or medium you've never used but love to explore?
Actually, I've used a variety of mediums in my work. I have done paintings on canvas, paintings on board. I've worked with wood, fiberglass, bronze, stainless steel. Now recently, last year, I did on inflatables, canvas and so on. So there's so many different materials I've worked with, and everyone has been quite challenging. But if you ask me what I would like to, experiment next, I would like to work, maybe combinations. The combinations would probably create something else.
Yeah.
Something else might come out.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because then there's so many possibilities.
Yes. Again, you are going into a space of the unknown. And the unknown is always something that's very exciting as well as challenging.
I think that's when we feel alive, right?
Yeah.
When you're in the unknown, navigating things.
Because it's like, again, creating a piece of work. It's a mystery what's eventually going to come out of it. But you would say, well, I've now feel so satisfied, I tried it. And if you don't try or experiment, you're not going to know.
Yeah.
What you're going to get out from there.
That's true. The last question I had is, if you could instantly master any other art form, what would it be?
I think I'd go for dance.
Wow, okay.
Because as you can see, the works that I've created are very playful, and some are actually, even the names I've given as, dances, that we would actually see. So it's a medium that I would actually like to try if they're given a chance, because it's actually, you free yourself again. Yeah, and the expression is like, okay, let's take it on,
Yeah.
and it doesn't conform you unless it's a structured form of performance. Yeah.
I think that's still in the realm of conceptual art, right? Like
Yes.
performative.
Yeah.
So that could be a possibility.
Yeah. So I create my fruits and my vegetables to dance.
Yeah.
As you can see some of them. Yeah.
They're very playful.
Yeah. And a lot of movement. And that dynamism is something I think gives you the feeling it's alive. Otherwise they look like a product. They are static, but I want to give that movement to them.
That makes a lot of sense. I would love to go back to your early career and really try to understand where your creativity began and who were you as like a young child? What inspired you?
I think in terms of creativity, I think it's there. So you would draw from whatever is available and work around it. So even as a child, I would, because we didn't grow up with toys, because it was not a generation where you get a lot of toys, so you create your own toys. So that's where I think I felt very happy about, because I could pick up objects and materials, put them together and create my own toys. So this is something that has always interested me in actually looking for found objects and composing them with nature, and I'm curious about what eventually will come out from them.
And you grew up in Malaysia, right? How did that influence who you are and how you see the world? What are those parts that you still carry today?
Growing up in Malaysia was, I always remember, it gave me a sense of freedom, because where my home was, we had a lot of open spaces, and they call it the padang, the open padang spaces. And there you would find trees, so much part of nature. You had the freedom to dream. So that sense of freedom, I think, was what kind of made me what I am today.
Right.
Not to fear the canvas.
That's beautiful. It sounds like a lot of imagination as
Yes.
well. When you're saying like there's not any like toys,
Yeah.
then you're forced to conceptualize.
You build your own little dolls. You somehow or other, you conceptualize a lot of things with what you have. And you feel, well, you've done something without anything, right? Basically picking up from nothing and doing something about it.
And was creativity always like encouraged growing up?
I don't think it was encouraged as such, but they never discouraged you. I don't think they were even aware of the fact that they should encourage you or discourage you with what you do. But we felt that we can carry on doing what we want to do, as long as you go, attending your school, your studies, and that's fine. You just carry on.
So what made you want to go down the design and art direction?
That's an area which I've been really very interested in space planning, looking at the function, because that is more to do with the function than actually the art itself. But that was the first part of it, because I felt it could actually lead me to what I could eventually do, because the space planning had a brief.
Right.
But when you go into fine art, there's no brief for you.
Yeah.
You set your own brief. And that was something very exciting as well. But I had to do one to do the other.
And how was that transition? Because it's a scary jump to go into conceptual, where you have to set your own brief. That scares a lot of people because they like to be told what to do. And to set those boundaries yourself can be quite scary.
Actually, I don't think I felt scared about going into it. I just felt, let me just get into it. Sometimes we have to stop analyzing and thinking too much. We just have to go with what you feel intuitively and say, I think I'm going to give it a try, and then just go forward.
In your MFA and after, did you learn like how to be an artist in terms of like how does the industry work?
It was always a navigation. You're navigating each part of it. I never knew I would go into making public artwork, but it was something that came to me and said, when the Singapore National Museum came to me and said, we'd like to commission you to do something. I said, oh, really? Okay, let me give it a try. That was it. I've done something small now. I just have to blow it into a much bigger scale. It led from one to another. I never planned to be one in that space, because I look at a spectrum, and the spectrum is, even when I'm doing that, you still have to develop your studio practice and what you believe in, what you want doing, because that's what will eventually lead you into the public works as well. And when it comes to the public artwork, from conceptualizing to actually presenting it, making sure that it is actually gets the approval, building layer by layer for the commissioner is also very important, because they are also not aware of a lot of things, including like the transportation, the shipment. So you're involved in so many areas of understanding how this could happen. So all this is a part of actually a great learning experience. So now I'm aware of so many things. I would ask the right questions. At that time, I wasn't even sure what the questions I should ask.
Right.
And now I'm so aware of the process and the methodology of working. I can say, well, comes first, second, third, and how we manage
Right.
A project. Yeah.
Do you wish you knew all of that? Like if there was a book or someone like you on a podcast explaining all of these things, do you wish something like that had existed, or did you enjoy navigating the unknown?
I think I quite enjoyed navigating on my own, because there was also interaction with people. And the interaction with people also is a learning experience. And because you don't want to follow a book, there's no formula here. Just like making artwork, there's no formula. There is only a process that you go through, but actually it all depends on how you juggle. I'm quite happy with actually working with people, understanding their process as well, which can eventually become a collaboration.
About the actual artwork itself, what is your relationship with nature? Because all of your art is derived from it. So I'm quite curious about your ethos, basically.
I think nature has been my mentor. So I reach out to nature for everything, even for your own well-being. You go out for a walk, you actually come back feeling good about the fact that you went for a walk, and each time you go, you see something different. It kind of has its own way of actually reaching out, and for you to observe these things. So I felt nature is actually the one that is the giver of everything for you, and it is for you to have an open mind to look for it.
Are there other practices in your life, like gardening, that also link you back to nature?
Yes, I love the garden. If you made me live in an apartment, I'll probably fall out of the window because I need the garden, And the garden always is something that makes me feel really good about. I'd also like to visit markets.
Okay.
Because in markets, you would often find lots of things from the gardens, which I might have missed even when I'm walking. So I love visiting markets, the fresh markets, to look for things that I find quite unusual, which I've not seen. It kind of is very exciting to see some of these things, yeah.
You're so right. And it's a great place to do, I used to do observational studies. I would go to fish markets, and that was something new and unique. You can learn so much from just the market.
I've been to some markets where the chilies were so colorful, such a variety. This was in Italy.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you can see the markets have such a variety of colors. So every country is I think it's exciting to visit the market.
I'm quite curious, after, say you find that you'd like to do it on the saga seeds, how do you pick your medium?
It depends on what I'm going to install, what my subject matter is going to be with the saga seeds. Is it going to be structured? If it's going to be structured, then I have to look at the physics of how it would stand. Then I would choose a material that may work with that. But if it's going to be standalone, playful and so on, I could go for bronze because it's very grounded. It sits there. And if I want to make it float, I would go for fiberglass. So it all depends on what I plan to do with.
What were like the first mediums that you started with?
Actually, first it was like paper. You actually create with paper and clay. Paper is light and clay is very hands-on. What happens with clay is you add on to make your form. And then I went on to hard wax in making the works, which means you edit, you remove what you don't require. It's like actually woodwork. Unlike clay, you add on to create a form. So these were the various things that I eventually figured out how best to work with and make a choice of what I want to do.
Do you usually work in like collections, or is it like constantly evolving? Like, how do you conceptualize sections of your artwork? Because there's things that are clearly in collections and there are some that are building out into their own, right? So how do you work?
It depends on the series. You see, if I'm building a series on upcycle or recycle works, so I will find all the materials to work with them and becomes a bigger collection of upcycle work. And if I'm doing paintings on a theme, and I would also do a series of works. But sometimes what happens in commission, it's a standalone. So you are required to do something more than what you normally do. So that becomes a standalone piece. So eventually they all tell stories. Whether it's a collection or whether it's a standalone, there is a story behind each work.
Yeah. And what's the biggest difference of working with, let's say, a private commissioner versus an exhibition or a show or even like a developer?
I must say with the developers, we have a budget. You have to accept that. They always come, we don't have a budget for this and that. So we work backwards. So what do you have a budget for? I always say, let's not think about the budget first. Let's just conceptualize the work, depending on how big it's going to be or small, based on the budget. But the concept is important. So that's what I will normally share with the developer. So let's just work for the piece itself. Whereas with the exhibitions, it's your own development. So you are free to actually build whatever you want to, what you like to show. Then the curator comes in to actually then be the bridge between the audience and the artist.
So in those scenes, is budget not an issue? Because you're just creating your own collection and then you just hope that it sells? Is that how it works?
Sometimes, yes. Very often that's what happens. You put out the exhibition and hopefully there will be some form of interest for acquisition. But if there's not, then you still have to carry on, So we just hope there will be someone who will acquire something.
Are the developers that you work with, are they themselves also creative? As creatives, when we talk about it, we understand the conceptual side, but then they might just want something pretty or like something that sells. Do you find that difficult to navigate?
The developers often also have a team of their own. And their team comprises of the architects and the engineers as well as landscape designers. So it's not necessarily that they want something pretty. They equally want something strong and which will be a marker for their development. So it's usually a serious area to deal with where you come in with your concept and they have to accept that and then we start working together.
Yeah, it sounds very collaborative.
Yeah, it's very much a collaboration because I will engage my own engineers, they will have theirs, they have to work together because one has to, like for example, my engineer will have to certify that the work is actually stable, it's for public safety, all these things. Their engineer will come and say, well, to install it on my building, my weight for the, for my structure, it's fine. What you are giving is okay. So there are many complex issues that turn up which gets resolved eventually. Yeah.
It sounds like these are long-term projects. Like you can't,
Yeah.
it's not like a painting where it comes to life with you,
No.
right?
Yeah. It can be sometimes very tiring to deal with and manage these projects because they're so long, but they're ongoing.
Yeah.
And eventually we will get it done.
How do you internally manage your emotions when some of these projects are so long and it takes so much time for it to like mature and come to life?
When you are dealing with art and materials, commissions, projects, and exhibitions, there's a lot of juggling to do. The juggling becomes so much part of your life, and that's, I think, very exciting as well, because you can handle your own work, and but when you're working on your own, you actually have to like keep everything else away and just do what you want to do.
Yeah, so how do you balance work for yourself and work for all of these other things? Like, do you still have time for that playful personal experimentation and like studio practice?
I think the area that I chose for my personal development is very rich. So it doesn't end with just one exhibition. I started something like 30 years ago and created my own cosmos, called 360 Vessels from the Temple. But I had so much to say then, but I could only do that bit for that particular exhibition. So I kept that as a center and drew a lot of inspiration from that center. So I'm actually, till today, I feel I'm creating concentric circles around that. So there is a center which I draw, and I keep going back to it. So maybe that's why I find it quite easy to, I go back. Whenever I want to work, I go back to that center and say, I've done this. Now what do I take from here to show? And connect with what I did 30 years ago as well, So there is a flow, and in many ways it's like a sentence that you're trying to punctuate. That's how I feel about it, So do I now put a comma to it, or do I put a full stop and start a new sentence? Do I actually say, maybe in inverted commas, hold and move to the next?
Yeah, and maybe it is like a full story instead of fragmented sentences, right?
And there could be so many chapters. If you look at it as a book, there's so many chapters to the book, right? So I finished chapter 1, maybe what's going to be chapter 2 now? So this is how I kind of like think and move from one to another area.
In terms of time, do you think in terms of days and have phases like where you're working on client work and the next month is personal work, or is it a daily ritual and you have time for all the things that you want to do?
When I go in, I'm into the studio, I just draw from what I want to do if I do not have a demand for what I need to finish. I can just kind of play around with what I like to try to test for the day, and then I can still go back to finish what I have to do, because some things are at a place that you know what the next step would be, so it's easy to follow through. But some you want to experiment and see what's going to happen. So it's about, sometimes you're so curious to know quickly, so you would do that. What you've already know, you can take the step 2 days later. You don't need to rush into it. So it's a very personal engagement, that you do what you feel for that day, and you will realize the flow will be fine.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a very strong connection to your intuition.
Yes, it's all about that feeling. And the philosophy that you actually carry through. What exactly is your philosophy? Why are you doing this? Why are you creating? You keep asking all these questions as you're working. Does it make any sense, to yourself? Because if it doesn't make any sense to yourself, it doesn't make sense to anyone. So that kind of faith you have in yourself when you're making. Because if you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to convince others, right? So you need to believe in yourself, and this is what I feel is what I say. So, because you have had the time to dwell on it, whereas the audience didn't have the time. So they are coming to actually take something that you have actually spent time on, felt and made, for them to actually say, yes, I think I can see where it's coming from. So it's important you have that respect for your audience.
I think faith is really important because so much of being an artist is having faith in yourself and then hoping that others understand and connect with your art. I love the way you like to blow up the scale to ask people to think about such basic things that we have in nature like seeds, and that scale is so important, and it is that connection. I understand then like what you're putting out and we connect with it.
Yeah, I think that's important. Everything I do is like giving a gift back to nature, because the fact that I'm celebrating you, I make it larger than life. It can be seen and we celebrate you. Right. So it's a kind of an offering back.
That's really beautiful. I know that you've had this art practice throughout. Yeah. You're not just an artist in isolation, right? You have a full life. And how did motherhood affect you as an artist?
I think it's juggling a lot again. For example, I have to take the kids to lessons and so on. So my car would be the space that I would have my drawing block, and I would be doing the drawings in the car. I would, finalize. I would be while waiting for them. And so I kind of like built a lot while they were young on actually building my own portfolio of what I like to actually strengthen, in terms of drawing, then you build your concepts of what you like to do. So this has been something which has been like there.
Yeah.
So I juggled a lot with when they were small. Yeah.
And now do you feel like after that, I guess that phase is never over, but now that you get to focus on yourself again, do you feel different? Do you feel different to when you first started?
Now I think I'm free to do what I want to do. I've got more time in my hands, and I just keep working and building what I kind of like. What I could have done more, but I didn't want to compromise at that time. The children were small. I had to only to do so much, and as they grew older, then now I can do a lot more.
Yeah. I think it's still so beautiful to have a practice that you can still balance and not have to take a full break.
It's very hard to have a break with making artwork because you lose the connection very easily, especially when you are working on a concept and have a focus on something. If you have a break, you lose the connection. I was actually teaching for a while, and having a break to go to the institution to teach and come back, I would lose 2 full days practically, and my practice would be like neglected because I'm tired. I have to come back and get started again, and I didn't want to compromise that. So I actually gave up teaching. For me, I need a full-time practice and to be really committed to what I do, and then I can produce. I can feel that I've done what I actually aim to do. Yeah. My goals.
Yeah. So I guess no break.
You can't. You can have breaks in time to think, in time to travel. You can have those breaks, but it doesn't leave you. It's there with you all the time. To a great extent, it's part of you while you're having breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I guess you don't really need to take a break if it is so fulfilling, right? It just is what you do and who you are.
Yeah. You start seeing things all the time, and that's fantastic because your mind, your eyes, your emotions, everything gets connected all the time to where you are. And that's, to me, is very important because wherever you go, you be in the now and you pick up. That being in the now is so important to gathering the information.
What's the most exciting thing that fuels you?
I like to work with a lot of upcycle materials because they are very challenging to deal with. At the same time, with climate change and everything, I think we have to keep pushing boundaries to show why so many things are important for us to consider before we dispose things. We're so dispassionate about a lot of things when we throw, and how it could be gifted to places or remake or recycle to be gifted. And that's an area which I would really like to think about.
Yeah, I think there is so much innovation coming out even in that space, right? With like sustainable materials, or even using things like mushrooms as textile material. Like early on we were saying collaborating different materials together. That's exactly, I think, the same kind of concepts that come in when you're talking about sustainable materials.
Because these materials have a life, and disposing them would be actually quite sad. So to collaborate with a lot of institutions or whatever, to make something of this, to be used or gifted, to me it makes sense.
And that's beautiful because you can keep passing it on.
Like I've done a lot of woven the wool around the compact disc, as you would have seen in the studio, some of those pieces, because those compact discs actually come with a story. They all come, recorded with a story behind. But what I've done is woven my own story on it. So that's another layer that you add. And from here, what other layer can you do? What can you do with them to be aesthetically presented and making them into an art form, And so I'm still exploring, still a long way to go.
But those are great pieces to bring the community into dialogue about these things, right?
So you can engage the community to be involved, and everyone's like, where do we throw this? It's a sad state, of affairs. But I think it's nice if people could come together to create some of this, and maybe make the largest wall ever with those works.
Find another purpose.
Yes.
If you could go back and give to your younger self, what would be like one piece of advice?
Keep working. You just have to keep working. Believe in yourself and just keep working. You'll find that it will really help you build yourself.
Thank you for spending time with us and with the work of Kumari Nahappan. I hope this conversation inspires you to look at the everyday forms around you in a new way, and to keep following your curiosity back to your creative center. This special episode was filmed at Studio 5, our Singapore studio partner and co-producer for this episode and trailer. A huge thanks to the entire team at Studio 5 for helping bring this to life. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who would appreciate it. Stay connected for updates on new episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and creative industry insights by following us on social media or joining our newsletter at desianddesign.com. That's all for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.